2 homes on the same street buy the exact same tumble dryer in the same week for the same money. The efficient one. The upgrade everybody told them to get. 10 years later, one of them has quietly saved enough to cover a family holiday. The other paid a premium for a machine that fought their life every single week and would have been better off with the cheap box they walked past in the shop. Same machine, same badge, opposite endings. And what split them was not the price on the tag they compared for all of 10 minutes. It was one number sitting just underneath it that almost nobody checks before they buy. Meet Anna and meet Ben. This is Spend It Once. You are about to spend serious money, so let's make sure you understand exactly what you are buying. So, which tumble dryer is cheapest? That question has no single answer, and anyone who gives you one is usually selling the dearest machine on the shelf. The honest question is narrower. What will this specific dryer cost me in total over the 10 years I actually run it? That is the price on the tag, plus a decade of electricity, minus the loads I could have dried for free. It is a short sum with 4 inputs: how much power the machine draws every time you switch it on, how many loads you genuinely do in a week, where the thing has to live, warm room or cold garage, and the costs the label hides, from slow cycles to the repair you cannot make. Get those 4 right and the answer is obvious. Get one wrong and you can pay a premium to be worse off. So let's collect them, one at a time, with Anna and Ben. Number 1, and it dwarfs the sticker. How much electricity the machine burns every time it runs. A tumble dryer is one of the thirstiest things in your home, and the gap between the cheap and the efficient kind is enormous. Here is the trap. On the shop floor, a heat pump dryer costs a couple of £100 more than a plain condenser, and buyers stare at that gap and flinch. The difference is what happens to the air. A vented dryer heats fresh air, picks up the moisture from your clothes, and blows the whole lot, warmth included, out through a hose in the wall. A condenser keeps that air in a closed loop instead, wringing the water out of it and then reheating it from scratch on every pass. A heat pump runs the very same loop, but rather than making fresh heat each time, it recycles its own warmth, capturing what it just pulled out of your clothes and putting it straight back in. Same dry, a fraction of the power. But you do not run a dryer once, you run it for a decade. A full 9-kilogram load in a condenser dryer pulls around 5 kilowatt hours. The same load in a heat pump, closer to 2. At Britain's 26 pence a unit today, that is roughly £1.35 a load against about 55 pence. 80 pence every single wash. For an average household, that cheaper box quietly costs you around £80 a year extra on your electricity bill, year after year. Over the machine's life, the efficient one you thought was expensive pays back its premium in about 3 years, then hands you the rest as profit. So before you compare price tags, look up one number printed right on the label: the kilowatt hours per year. That is the real price. Number 2 is the lever that decides whether that efficient machine ever pays for itself, how many loads you genuinely do. The heat pump earns its premium back one wash at a time, so the maths only works if you wash enough. A busy family drying 4 loads a week runs over 200 a year, and at 80 pence saved a load, that is more than £160 a year at today's UK prices, back in your pocket. The premium vanishes in under 2 years, and the next 8 are pure saving. But here is the quiet failure nobody warns you about. If you dry 1 load a week, topping up between the washing line and the radiator, you save maybe £40 a year. On a £200 premium, that is a 5-year wait just to break even, on a machine that dries slower and you might replace before it ever gets there. Low usage does not make the efficient dryer a saving. For a light dryer, the cheap box, or better yet the free washing line, quietly wins. Number 3 is the one the salesman never mentions: where the machine physically lives. A heat pump dryer is basically a fridge run in reverse, and like a fridge, it hates the cold. Put it in a warm utility room or a kitchen and it hums along exactly as promised. Put it in an unheated garage in a British winter, the low 10 degrees, and it can crawl, taking 5 hours to dry a load, or simply give up. The vented dryer and the plain condenser do not care nearly as much. They will happily dry your washing at -5. In fact, the condenser quietly likes a cooler room because it uses the room's own air to chill the loop and pull the water out, so a chilly utility room helps it along, while a hot, stuffy one makes it work harder. What it hands back is heat. A condenser is effectively a small space heater, dumping its waste warmth straight into the room it stands in, which is a gift in January and a stuffy, damp problem in a cramped cupboard. A vented dryer solves that by blowing the wet air outside, but only if you can drill a vent through the wall, which you cannot always do, and which usually means paying a tradesperson to come out and core drill it. And both the condenser and the heat pump come with a small daily chore the vented dryer does not have. They collect the water they pull out of your clothes in a tank, and you empty it every load, unless you pay a bit more to plumb the machine into a drain. So before you fall for the efficiency figure, ask a boring question. Which room does it go in, and how warm is that room in February? Now, the costs that never make it onto the energy label. First, time. That gentle low heat means a heat pump takes almost twice as long, 2 to 3 hours a load. If you batch all your washing into a Sunday, that quiet efficiency becomes a bottleneck you will curse by tea time. Second, the feel. Clothes come out of a heat pump cool, even faintly clammy, and people panic that they are still wet. They are not. They simply were not baked at 75 degrees, which is gentler on the fabric. Though be fair about the trade, a heat pump tumbles your clothes for twice as long, so you swap heat damage for more mechanical friction. Kinder overall, but not the clean win the marketing implies. Third, the upkeep. Every efficient dryer hides a fine lint filter and a condenser you must clean religiously, or the machine slowly chokes, loses its efficiency, and eventually needs a professional strip down that in the UK runs a couple of £100. And fourth, the big one, the repair. That simple vented dryer from the room test is just a fan and a heating element. When it breaks, a £20 part and a screwdriver fix it. A heat pump is a sealed refrigerant system, like a fridge, and when that fails out of warranty, there is often no economical fix at all. The machine that saves you money for 8 years can become landfill in year 9. There is one more thing you should know before you shop, because the choice is quietly being made for you. As of now, new energy rules across the UK and Europe are phasing the thirstiest vented and condenser dryers off the shelves. Using the one you own is completely fine, but walk into a shop today and the cheap, simple, repairable vented dryer is already getting hard to find, and within a couple of years, it will mostly be gone. So the real move is this. If you dry a lot, indoors, in a warm room, and you keep appliances until they die, buy the heat pump now and let it pay you back. If you dry rarely, or in a freezing garage, or you batch everything into one frantic afternoon, grab a simple machine while you still can and lean on the washing line for the rest. And whichever you buy, ignore the big letter on the label. The scale was reset and made much stricter, so an old A++ machine would only rate about a C today, and a modern A is genuinely exceptional. Read the kilowatt hours per year underneath it. Here is your benchmark. For a standard 9 kilogram drum, under about 250 kilowatt hours a year is an efficient machine, and anything north of 400 will quietly drain you. That small number, not the sticker, is what you are really signing up for, and you can check it for free before you buy. Every model sold in Europe has to publish its energy label in the official EPREL database, and consumer groups like Which list the yearly running costs side by side. 2 minutes there beats 10 minutes in the shop. So, which should you buy? 3 tests, and you can run all 3 from your own kitchen. Test 1. The volume test. Honestly, how many loads do you dry in a week? 3 or more, and the efficient machine's savings do real work and pay for themselves fast. 1 or fewer, and you are buying convenience, not savings, so buy cheap or hang a line. Test 2. The room test. Where will it live, and how cold does that room get in winter? A warm indoor spot, the heat pump thrives. A freezing garage, it will struggle, so a plain condenser is the safer buy. Test 3. The keep it test. How long do you keep appliances? If you run them into the ground over 10 years, the heat pump's lower bills win easily. If you move house or upgrade every few years, you may never bank the savings, and its repair risk is not worth it. Anna dries 5 loads a week in a warm flat and keeps things forever, so for her the efficient dryer is the easiest money she will make. Ben batches his washing into Sunday, keeps his machine in a cold garage and swaps appliances often, so the same machine fights him and never pays. Same dryer. Run your own 3 tests, and you will know which one you are. The shape of the money, our 2 homes. Anna dries load after load in a warm utility room and keeps her machines for a decade, so her heat pump quietly shaves the best part of £150 a year off her bills and pays for itself twice over. Ben buys the exact same dryer, stands it in a cold garage where it labours, batches his washing into afternoons where its slow cycles infuriate him, and trades it in long before the savings arrive. He paid a premium to be worse off on the identical machine, not because one of them is smarter, because the same machine met 2 different weeks, 2 different rooms, and 2 different plans for how long to keep it. You now know the 4 numbers that decide which one you are. So here is the whole game. The price tag was never the question. Every one of these machines dries clothes. The technology is good, and for the right home, the efficient one is genuinely the cheapest way to do the laundry for a decade. The question is the number underneath, how much it draws, how much you dry, where it lives, and whether you will keep it long enough to collect. Read the kilowatt hours, count your real loads, look at the room, and be honest about how long you keep things. Do that, and a Tumble dryer stops being a 10-minute grab on price and becomes what it always should have been, a decision with an answer. If a purchase you're about to make deserves this kind of breakdown, subscribe. Next time, we stay in the cold months and plug in the little machine that feels like a bargain and drinks like a monster, the plug-in electric heater. £20 in the shop, and quietly one of the most expensive ways to warm a room ever invented. One number tells you whether it is a clever top-up or a slow leak in your bank account, and almost nobody checks it. Until then, spend it once and spend it right.